welcome to Monkey Broadcast, our monthly review and discussion show with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader.
And here we are in March. And I have no time to write a clever intro.
Well then,
I'm sorry guys, but my workload has been ridiculously heavy this month, and not only that, I've had small hospital trips due to a sore to the face, so yeah.
Which is the best excuse ever. Whoever said that on the Crazy Taxi video, you could not be more right.
Yeah, I think that was John Noack Williams. I think that's how you pronounce it, but anyway,
Just think, the last time I could have ever used that as an excuse was, well, my variation would be, I'm sorry, I would have worked, but then I kinda sorta took a chair to the eye.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that's a unique occurrence.
Long story, I was a very hyperactive 2-year-old in a house with hardwood flooring.
Ouch.
Do the math.
Yeah. Okay, enough of facial injuries. We'll now move on to the first section.
Q&A!
One should never have to say enough of facial injuries. Quick summary. This is where we provide answers to questions sent to us by our fans and subscribers. If you'd like us to answer your questions, please send them to us via YouTube PMs or leave a comment in this video, or wherever you're viewing this podcast. Thankfully, we have some more questions than last time, and this one comes from our good old friend, MetalGamer97. And his question is...
Sven, do you fear it?
You know, it's funny you should say that. I was silent because I just knew what was coming. I think he sent me a PM that was literally exactly that.
So, do you fear it?
Yeah, it would kind of help if I knew what it was, but sure, why not? I totally fear it, whatever it is.
Okay then. We shall now defend ourselves against it. Who knows, it might be a hybrid of Ichigo and Aizen. That'd be terrible.
Oh god, yes it would be. Who knows, it might be Richard.
No one's terrified of Richard.
Oi!
I mean, could it be surprised if you were surprised of him?
Why are you on
Hell, it might be an arrow to the knee. Sorry, everyone.
Only a matter of time. Anyway.
We were discussing this beforehand.
Okay, so yeah, I think we better move on.
This next question comes from Mega Shadowrunner, and I think Wolf Voice. I'm gonna have fun with this.
Have you ever broken a game as in become so overpowered that you could not lose?
4 words, Might and Magic 7. Long story short, my dad and I actually found out a way to glitch the game so bad that we had a line of hostile bandits lined up along a cliffside, so that whenever you killed the one in the lead, he would die, but would not actually die in terms of game mechanics. As in, he would fall over and then get right back up. We left the game with a screwdriver sticking the attack key down, and I forgot we'd done this. Cue about 2 hours later. Most of our characters had died of exhaustion, but were level 63 at the start of the game.
Oh, wow. That is pretty impressive, I've got to say.
And we have yet to replicate that exact level of brokenness ever since. We have just not been able to.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
It was so memorable. I think we ended the game at level 120.
Oh, jeez. I'd be very surprised if you were able to replicate that again.
And just by the by, in Might and Magic 7, a level 63 monk at the start of the game, it just does like godly damage to begin with. And at level 63 at the start of the game, you're fighting things like goblins and giant dragonflies. So basically, we were doing upwards of 70 damage a hit to enemies with 10 HP.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm going to assume that nothing in the game was a challenge after that.
Pretty much.
There are only 2 examples I can think of personally, and sadly neither of them are quite as entertaining as that. The first was in Tales of Symphonia, when basically, when you were playing New Game Plus, one of the settings you can have was that you can make it so that your characters got 10 times the experience points they normally would. Which basically meant if you just brought the same number of monsters you would normally, you could completely destroy the game. You're like, I think I got like about 5 levels from just the monsters outside of the first temple. That's
Just, wow.
yeah. It was so easy to destroy enemies that I ended up just giving up on that game and just starting another one with the ×2 experience instead, just to make it slightly more fair. The second example was from Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, I'm going to have to explain some mechanics here in order to get this across.
In Sonic and the Black Knight, you can perform a technique called Soul Surge. It's basically like a super attack. What happens is you have a red gauge that builds up as you destroy enemies, collect red berries, etc. And when you activate it, basically everything slows down the bullet time or time freezes, and your character like jumps from one to the other. Like when you're Sonic, he just basically runs at super speed towards the enemy, and then you'll come straight through the enemy, kill him in one hit, and then you'll just move on to the next one in like a long continuous chain of death, and this continues until the gauge runs out. Also, if you click the reload at just the right time, I think it's been a while since I played the game, but I forget whether it refills the gauge or just stops it briefly so that you can continue, or just make it last longer.
But the overall point is, it's like the strongest technique you can do in the game. Now, in Sonic and the Black Knight, you can also have optional characters. Like when you get to the second half of the game, if you want to have a break from playing Sonic in the levels, you can play as Knight versions of Knuckles, Blaze, and Shadow. And because they don't have the special Sacred Sword Caliburn, which is Sonic's standard item, they have the standard RPG tactic of equipping weapons with different effects, which you can get by obtaining bonus materials. I did this for Shadow, and got his ultimate weapon. I can't remember if it's Durandal or if it went by another weapon, but basically, it's his ultimate weapon. And it does 2 things. First of all, it makes the Soul Surge gauge fill up at an much faster, and I think it even fills up whilst he's running, which basically means that technique is now superpowered anyway. What makes it even more ridiculous is that it changes the way the technique works. Originally, Shadow Soul Surge is basically when he yells, "I swear this is true, chaos, punishment!" And,
Wow, Sega. Wow. Just,
Yeah.
could you... Subtlety. It exists.
Yeah. Okay, so he does that hand thing, and what happened is that he would normally teleport from one target to the other and slash them. However, what happens is, not only does he teleport to a target, instead of slashing it, he would do this miniature version of Chaos Blast from Shadow the Hedgehog, which for those of you who don't know, it is basically a miniature explosion, which takes on everything around it. So basically, you've got this character who is essentially doing a continuous chain of miniature explosions of death that were constantly wiping out entire armies and anything that was around them. And to make matters worse, it got to a point in the game where I had already mastered the timing so that the gauge would go down at an even slower rate, which meant basically, even if the screen was entirely filled of enemies, I could not lose because all I had to do was activate it, and then it would just completely annihilate everything that moved.
You know, I don't know what's more impressive about that story, the fact that you actually managed to do that, or the fact that Shadow's best weapon is Elliott's sword from Fire Emblem.
Yeah,
I mean, what?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's his ultimate weapon, but I do remember that one of the swords is Durando, because, yeah, I made exactly the same connection. I'm gonna guess it's just a common knowledge from the mythology, which would make sense since the game borrows heavily from Arthurian mythology for obvious reasons, so...
Yeah, because, you know, Sonic and the Black Knight, Excalibur, that sort of thing.
Yeah, although... Just to go slightly off topic, rather amusingly, they sent the fan base into some confusion by having an additional character in multiplayer, which was Silver in armor. However, as part of the story, it's meant to take place in an alternate dimension, except that it's not really technically Shadow, I should mention. It's the alternate dimension version of Shadow called Sir Lancelot, and Silver's alternate name in this dimension was Sir Galahad, Sir Lancelot's son.
I can only imagine the wild mass guessing on TV tropes.
Oh god, yeah. Oh, just anywhere. And for the longest time, one of the biggest comments you can see on Sonic 4 is this, wait, is Sega implying that Silver is Shadow Sonic? And keep it in mind, for those who don't play Sonic, Silver comes from the future, so...
Oh god.
Cue wild mass guessing.
And Doctor Who theme.
Da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da. But yeah, those are the only two stories I can have, and they're honestly normal parts of the game anyway. They don't involve screwdrivers or...
Yeah, that was just our prop. But God knows this is going to become a joke. Just the screwdriver joke. Sven the Crusader's implement for everything.
Well, I have continuum shifts. Anyway.
And I suppose before we move on, I could mention Fire Emblem Arena abuse, including one playthrough, whereupon, at the very first arena I could find, I leveled Sane up to 20, promoted.
Yikes.
Nothing challenged me.
Yeah.
And just by the by, people, Sane is basically a berserker on wheels.
Yeah, I mean, I've done arena spam occasionally, but I've never taken it that far.
Once I start, I just don't stop.
Oh dear. Oh, I wish I had the time for grinding. Anyway. We better move on. Our last question of the month comes from Roy Havenstone 2, and he asks,
In light of the announcement of Pokemon Black and White 2, which features from the original Pokemon Black and White would you like to see improved, and what features are you hoping to see implemented in these sequels? New story, new areas, etc. Yes, technically that's 2 questions, but they have the same theme, and well, I'm just naive like that. Wahahahaha, cough.
yeah, this was a recent announcement that took us all by surprise, and improvements, I'm just trying to think of some, because I didn't have much wrong with Pokemon Black originally. Okay, only 3 things I had an original problem with Black and White which I'd like to see improved. 1, a larger variety of Pokemon at the start, because I like the fact that the first gym basically forces you to go out and catch up a Pokemon, but the fact is, the Pokemon you can get at the start weren't that interesting.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's nothing but normal types. You can't even get the obligatory normal flying type at the start, which is mildly jarring.
Yeah, well, it's that and 1 dark type, and that's it. I mean, there's a psychic there's a psychic type nearby I really wanted to use, but they kept blocking my path every single time, so I couldn't get that. The only other option is to basically take one of the elemental monkeys, which I said it before in my original review of Pokemon Black and White, but that just made no sense to me. Why the hell would he give it to you? Just why?
Just imagine coming up to that on the street. Here, a total random stranger. Want a monkey, good sir?
Yeah, that's just awkward. The second thing is that if they're going to create a new area like Black City or White Forest, I would like more stuff to do with it. I mean, I was playing Pokemon Black when I heard that the city was the largest city in Unova. I thought, oh boy, this is going to be even larger than Callista City. Oh, no, is that the name of it? I forget, it's been a while.
Castilia.
Yeah, that's it. And I thought, oh wow, it's going to be like Castilia City, it's going to be massive and awesome. And then it turned out it was just a series of black blocks and a couple of trainer battles and 1 random Pokemon Center.
Yeah. Kind of anticlimactic, that.
Yeah. And finally, number 3, Pokemon musicals. Make them have a freaking point. But yeah, those are the only things I would really fix. Sven, how about you?
Well, I had so few problems with the Black and White, kind of like you, that I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah,